Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Laura and today I wanted to share some frugal living lifestyle tips with you. We are a young professional couple living in Auckland, New Zealand, and although we are by no means the most minimal or the most frugal people, we still have some really helpful things that help us to save money. And I will, of course, be going through the numbers too. If you enjoy my 7 frugal living lifestyle tips today, please subscribe to see more of my content, especially since this is part 2 and last week I released a video on frugal food tips, which I will link over here. I also make content on minimalism, mental health, I do a vlog here and there, and just generally talk about my life. Comment down below your awesome frugal tips or what you'd like to see me do next. Okay, tip number 1 is to create a thrift list. This for me is when I'm starting to need something like a replacement for the 2 cardigans I've had for the last 3 years because they're just not cutting it anymore. Instead of going out straight away to buy a new 1 or 2 or 3, because most of the time I'm not even sure exactly what it is that I want, I'll put it on the thrift list. Other things that we've included on this recently: mugs, plates, silverware, a mixing bowl, candles, baby clothes for our friends who are having babies, and jumpers, which is like a lot of stuff. But what you do is you have this list in your mind or written on your phone, or maybe even write it out on paper and work out where you can hit a few op shops in quick succession. Then when it makes sense, maybe once every few weeks when you're doing other errands, take an hour or so to hit those shops with your list. You can pretty easily work out how to check off whether a place has what you need or not. Today I was looking for a mixing bowl, a leather belt, and wool jumpers for myself and my husband. For mixing bowls, I can take a quick look down the aisles and see that there's nothing big enough that could be a good mixing bowl, so that's pretty easy to check off. For leather belts, I wanted something that was either brown or black and sort of a medium width. So 90% of these automatically don't work, and then if I feel them quickly, none of them feel like leather. So that's another no and is pretty easy to check off. For jumpers, I have an idea in mind of what kind of colors I'm after, so I kind of look for those and then just go along with my hand feeling them to see if they feel like wool. And you can usually tell pretty quickly whether you're going to find anything of value or not. If I try for 5 minutes and still haven't really found anything, I usually give up just because I figure there's not going to be much quality stuff there anyway. Here's a haul of what I've got in the last 6 months or so, how much it cost me. I got this Scottish lamb's wool jumper or sweater, which was $4 at a Red Cross store. I've gotten so many compliments on this, saying that it looked really trendy, very like old money, which is funny since it was literally $4, but brand new something like this would be easily over $100. The belt I'm wearing is a fast fashion brand, but I got it with the label still on from a hospice store for $1. And although I couldn't get good quality in this instance, buying fast fashion secondhand is still better than buying it brand new. This grey wool jumper that I wore in my video last week, I bought on Trade Me, which is kind of like a really good New Zealand version of eBay or like Facebook Marketplace, for $25. This super retro brown leather belt was also a Trade Me find for about $15. Josh got this jumper in an op shop in, I want to say Thames, for $10. I bought this gingham dress on Facebook Marketplace for $25 and it has pockets and it's one of my favorites. This chunky black super retro belt was another Trade Me find for $20. This silver cake slicer that I used to cut our wedding cake was $20 secondhand on Trade Me. I got these silver teaspoons and silver dessert spoons for about $1 each from various op shops. The baby clothes that I've bought recently for friends of ours who are having babies, I've gotten all of these for 50 cents to $1. And Josh got a bunch of ties to wear to work when he's teaching at schools for literally $1 each. I would say on average this saves us about $250 every 3 months. Tip number 2 is to learn to love your natural hair. So this is a little PSA to all of the guys, gals, and non-binary pals out there. You know how everyone's great aunt was always telling them when they hit 12 years old, don't dye your hair, lovey, it just looks so nice as it is, don't do anything to it. And what you did was the minute you hit 16, you went to the supermarket, you got that like box black hair dye or bleach blonde, or you did DIY chunky highlights yourself. Well, if you're now here in the age of hair, which just seems to be like long, thick, curly, luscious, 3-foot hair, you can feel so much pressure to keep up with this really expensive standard. And my PSA to you is that you will never look like the ads and the Instagram posts, because even they don't look like that, and they're paid to look that good. You would pay to try to get that. Now, on the hair length, thickness, extensions type conversation, I really can't talk, as I've always had thick, healthy hair, and that's actually why I cut it short, because it was too much for me. But when it comes to coloring your hair, even with my short hair, I easily save like 3 hours every 6 weeks on sitting in a chair having it done, and I worked out about $2,000 a year because I'm not getting it colored. And the thing is, like I said, even if you do pay to get that done, it never really looks like the posts on Instagram or the photos in magazines. And maybe you really, really do love having dyed hair, and you're watching this with like purple and green hair with like yellow bits here. And if that's really you and you really, really love having dyed hair, go for it. Do you? But if you're like me and you're sitting here going, I'd like to be like just a bit more blonde, or maybe have like a little bit of red, or maybe just a couple more highlights on top of what naturally shows in my hair, just reconsider that. Maybe stay away from it and you will save so much money. All right, tip number 3 is to use what you have or what's really basic. There's a big culture, especially with the really cheap consumerism that's promoted on social media right now, but also generally with the lifestyle inflation that comes from moving from being a young person who's studying or has a really low income job to then being a working professional who now has a decent amount of money coming in, to feeling like you need to buy something new every time you think you have a new need. Sometimes it feels like you got by for so long on those old scratchy towels that now you have more steady income, you really want to replace those. And that may make perfect sense. We really, really love our new towels that we got last year with gift cards we got for our engagement. But then we hit summer, and it's like, oh, should we also replace our beach towels? Should we replace our bath mats? It starts to feel like you replaced one thing, so surely you should replace all of them. You may as well do it so everything matches, so it's all cohesive and it's all put together. I mean, it's not that much more expensive. This like grouping especially can be really easy to do and is really enticing. You will never have everything nice and everything cohesive and everything like not worn and feeling new, because by the time you get around to doing that, the first things now need replacing and you're just chasing your tail trying to one-up yourself constantly. So what I would say instead is to first ask yourself if you can use something that you already have or something that's really basic. For example, we had old towels that I got from my parents that we used as our beach towels. Sure, we could have replaced them for $20 or $30 each with nice ones, but that's money that we could spend on food or other needs, and we just didn't feel was worth the value to go spend on towels that we were only going to use a few times a year. Then when we got Bailey, we took those old towels and they're now his to dry him down when he gets wet. So at that point we did need new beach towels. We just went to Kmart and got a towel for like $8 each, and we've had these for almost 2 years now and they're still going strong. You do not need to buy something new or something fancy most of the time. For major stuff like the towels you use every day, like I said before, you may notice the difference and it may be worthwhile, but for stuff just like beach towels, it's probably not. Another example is that I was struggling to keep my makeup organized to where I could use it. So I got this really, really nice basket that I really like from Trade Aid to put all my makeup in, but I needed something to put my brushes in. This is like the most basic thing you can want. It's just a little square box that I need. Most of the pencil holders I found were round or they were too small. So I took this empty cocoa powder container and I've been using that for the last year and it's perfect. We are planning to sell our house this year, so when we did our kitchen renovation 18 months ago, I used the cardboard the cabinetry came in to line the shelves to protect them, so they'll look as new as possible when we sell them, and again, this is for free. We save jars from our food to store things in. I think this saves us about $30 a month, but there are so many more creative ways that you can use the most basic items or use what you already have. Tip number 4 is to use Consumer NZ or another product testing company if you're making multiple major purchases. So this is a bit of a you have to spend money to get money kind of scenario. But if you're like me and you want to get a quality product, it can be really hard. You don't want to be paying top dollar for something when a mid-range option would be just as good, but you also don't want to go out and buy a really cheap option and then have it break in a few months and have to spend more money replacing it anyway. With all of the brands and range and options out there, it can be really, really hard to keep track of everything. Even if you're a big researching type like me, it can still be hard to get a clear picture. So when we moved into our house and we had to buy a bunch of appliances because we had none, and then 18 months later when we were renovating our kitchen and had to put appliances into that, we used Consumer NZ. This allowed us to see where we could save money while still getting quality, and also where we could save ourselves from buying a lemon. This is paywalled information, so I obviously don't want to just hand out too many specifics right now, but I can tell you that buying certain things from Kmart has left us really happy with our purchases and also saving hundreds of dollars compared to buying other brands from like big box stores. We also saved easily $1,000 on our kitchen appliances, and I've saved myself a few times from buying like cheaper dupe versions of good expensive items because I can see based on the testing that they are just not worth it and that I should just wait until I can afford the more expensive item. Dyson stick vacuum cleaner, I'm looking at you. I'll get you one day. Tip number 5 is to treat yourself, but to something smaller. So we used to go out for dinner dates, but what we found pretty quickly was that we actually liked being home in the evenings. We found it really calming to just be at home, and going out for a dinner date wasn't as enjoyable as we kind of liked. We also realized that because we liked going out more in like the morning or around lunchtime, that we could do that and go for brunch dates, and it would actually save us a lot of money. If you're going out for brunch, generally you're not going to be getting an appetizer or drinks or dessert on top of the meal. It's just the meal. Later on, we started to find that even going for brunch didn't quite feel worth it, and that actually we just wanted to go out and enjoy a little something and sit on a bench or go for a walk or go for a drive. So we just started getting like a pastry and then taking our coffees with us from home in our keep cups, and that was just as enjoyable as going out for a full proper sit down kind of date. Even now, if we're out for dinner with people, we try to be more minimal with what we get. So unless an appetizer sounds like super amazing and exciting and interesting, we just won't bother with them. We'll get our main meal, and then again with dessert, unless it's like our favorite dessert of all time, we just won't bother. You know, we might get ice creams on the way home, which still saves a lot of money. But generally when we're out, we try to stick to a main and maybe one drink and tap water. Tip number 6 is to check your subscriptions, especially for annual discounts. So this is like the easiest one. So go right now to your streaming services, and the ones that you know that you use like 3 times a week, if you're paying monthly and you can save money by going to annual and you know you're going to pay it every month anyway, just go to annual. Just do it, save the money. I know I save money by going annual on Strava, Canva, and I think Disney Plus. Those are really easy to do, and if there's stuff that you're paying for monthly that you aren't convinced that you use all the time, maybe consider cutting those for a month or 2 to see if you actually miss them, or whether you're happy to just go without them and then again you save more money. You can also do this with some of your more serious bills. So my example here is that I had my contents insurance with the same company for as long as I've had insurance. I don't know, a long time. But I never knew that I could receive a discount from paying annually. I found the lack of transparency on this really not cool. So I called them up because my premiums had gone up again, as they'd gone up every single year, even though we'd moved from a rented home to a home that we own, which I assumed would be more secure and therefore cheaper, and it had still gone up. So I said to them that I would probably look at going to another provider because it had got even more expensive, and they said to me, oh, well, if you pay annually, then you can save money. I'm sorry, what? So I checked back through all of my documentation. It had never ever been mentioned that you would save money. It's not like on apps where it shows you really easily the discount that you get for paying annually. These guys are sneaky. So anyway, I got the number of, you know, how much it would cost me paying annually versus paying monthly, which is what I had been doing. I went to another provider, and now I'm with a different provider paying $10 a year less than I was originally paying, with the same excess, for 2.5 times as much coverage, because I was accidentally underinsured there for a bit, and I feel so much happier knowing that I'm getting that annual discount. Anyway, rant over. Do a stock take of your subscriptions, try cutting the stuff you're not really using, go annual on the stuff you are definitely using, and you'll easily save yourself over $100 a year. And tip number 7 is to look at doing day trips instead of overnighters. Last weekend we really felt like we wanted to just get away for a bit, but staying at an Airbnb even for just one night is like a few $100s. Sometimes you don't have a choice. If there's something that you really want to do, or if there's an event that you're attending out of town, you do have to stay the night. But oftentimes you can find things to do that you'll enjoy that can be a day trip, and you will save yourself so much money. We decided to drive an hour to Parakai Springs and go to the hot pools there for a couple of hours. Even just getting out of our normal day to go for this drive and then relax there in the pools, it just felt so rejuvenating. It was just really nice to just spend some time hanging out, chatting about different things, and I know we felt so much more refreshed and revitalized driving back even just a few hours later. Alright, so those are my 7 frugal lifestyle tips for today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out last week's video where I had 6 other frugal tips. Let me know which of these you already do, or maybe which of these were new to you. If you have any other comments or questions or anything else you'd like to see from me in the future, please feel free to comment that down below and subscribe to see what I have coming up. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.